Chapter 1. The Man Who Saw the Gate of Heaven. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spoke with him, Bethel. Genesis chapter 35, verse 15. Jacob, the grandson of Abraham, was in serious trouble. He had deceived his brother Esau and his father, and he had taken the blessing intended for the firstborn son from Esau. Genesis chapter 27, verse 41. Fearing physical reprisal, Jacob went into exile, traveling far from home, and eventually arrived at a location near a place called Luz. Genesis chapter 28, verse 19. One evening, as the sun was setting, Jacob stopped for the night, and using stones as a pillow, lay down to sleep. Late that night, as he drifted off to sleep, he experienced a mysterious and wonderful dream. In his dream, Jacob saw a ladder, whose base was setting on the earth, but the top of the ladder reached into heaven. When we think of a ladder, we picture a stepladder with steps that one climbs to reach the roof of his house. The Hebrew word ladder is kulam, and is actually a staircase. This is evident as Jacob saw angels going up and coming down the ladder. This supernatural ladder may have been in the form of a spiral, a common heavenly design. Through the Hubble Space Telescope, scientists have observed that in the galaxy in which we live, and in other galaxy forms, a majestic disk of stars and dust lanes can be seen in the form of spirals. When Solomon constructed his temple in Jerusalem, there was a winding, spiral staircase that wound from the ground floor to the second-tier chamber, and a second winding staircase led from the middle to the third story of the sacred building. 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 8. One of my ministry partners, when hearing me speak about this ladder, made an interesting observation. She noted that the double-strand molecules of nucleic acids, such as DNA, were in the form of what is called a double helix. The double helix appears as a twisted ladder that is held together by base pairs that are like steps from the top to the bottom of the helix. While the DNA ladder is found in the blood molecules of all humans linked to life itself, Jacob's ladder was a ladder of life, linking and connecting the heavenly to the earthly, or the world of men with the world of angels and the supernatural. Since the galaxies of the universe are spiral, perhaps this heavenly staircase was in the form of a spiral, linking to the DNA spiral of life that God implanted in the first Adam at the beginning of creation. The dream of this ladder stunned Jacob. We read his reaction after he awoke. And he was afraid and said, "How awesome is this place! This is none other than the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven." Genesis chapter 28, verse 17. Two important points are noted in his statement. The term, "this place," identified the land on which Jacob had slept that night. For years I pondered on the exact location of the place Jacob was speaking of, where the dream occurred. The Bible says he called the name of the place Bethel, which in Hebrew means house of God. Genesis chapter 28, verse 19. He identified the land where he laid his head as the gate of heaven. At the time of the dream, no physical house of God had been set aside for the Hebrews, Jewish people in the land, as the Hebrew family only consisted of Isaac, Rebekah, Esau, and Jacob. It would be centuries later, after Israel expanded to 600,000 men, Exodus chapter 12, verse 37, that Moses constructed the traveling wilderness tent, called the tabernacle, Exodus chapter 25, verse 9. Generations later, David's chosen son, Solomon, built the sacred temple in Jerusalem, 2 Chronicles chapter 3. However, centuries earlier than the building of either the tabernacle or the temple, Jacob had identified the site where he had the dream, this place, as the gate of heaven.